Otto was a bright and ambitious young man from Cincinnati, Ohio, and was known for his academic excellence and adventurous spirit. In December of 2015, he joined a tour-led trip to North Korea, and it would end in absolute tragedy, as he was quickly jailed and became a pawn in a war between North Korea and the United States of America. The results would leave the world with unanswered questions, and Otto's family grieving over the loss of their son. This is the story of Otto Warmbier. My name's Ben.
And I'm Nicole, and you're listening to Wicked and Grim,
A true crime podcast.
Warning, the following podcast contains graphic content and material intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
We've got some stuff to talk about real quick before the episode today.
Cheers.
Cheers. So you go ahead and drop the bomb. Tell them.
I'm dropping the bomb?
You got to take a sip first. Go ahead, take your sip. I'm giving you some talking times to take your sip. Okay, Go ahead, drop the bomb. I'm going to take a sip.
Okay, so this is patrons know about this.
Okay, stop.
Well,
Jesus.
it's a big deal.
That is like loud in the headphones.
We are starting to transition to doing 2 episodes a frickin' week.
We are. So we're looking at Tuesdays as our regular show is, and also coming in with episodes on Friday.
So to kind of, as a smooth, transition, we're just going to be doing every second Friday for a little bit.
Yep.
So like this week, you'll have an episode on Tuesday and Friday. Next week, you'll just have an episode on Tuesday.
And then the following week, Tuesday, Friday, and then the following Tuesday. So you will have another Wicked and Grim episode come out this Friday.
Holy shit. We need to post about this. This is a big deal.
We will. So make sure you mark it on your calendar. Make sure you get ready on Friday morning. We even did like a poll a few months ago in Patreon, like which day would you like it to come out on?
Yeah.
Most people wanted it Friday because it's like a good way to wrap up the week. And yeah. So
I think they also said a lot of podcasts don't release on Fridays. So.
Yeah, a lot of the ones they listen to. So I mean, I'm sure there's lots out there that do.
Yeah.
But the majority of them, those ones they were checking out, they don't release on Friday. So it's a good spot to fill. So you will have another episode this Friday from us.
That's a big deal.
And this is leading up to our 200th episode, or we've got some more stuff planned, but we'll touch on that with you guys later as the date comes near.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're fast approaching that.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone who's been supporting us this far. Thank you to our patrons who have been there along the way and giving us their insight on when they think we should post and all that sort of stuff. And speaking of thank you to Patreon, we have, notice how I didn't do a terrible transition this time, like I said I was last week.
I was waiting for it though. Now I'm like disappointed.
No, I'm going to catch everyone. I'm going to catch everyone off guard is what I'm going to do when I do the terrible one. But for now, I do want to thank our patrons who signed up this week. So we have James Kerr, Stephanie Lombardi, Holly, Raquel Rock, and McKenna Costello, because McKenna put 2 exclamation marks at the end of their name.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow.
Yeah. So thank you so much for signing up over on Patreon to get the exclusive content. They get to do things
That's
like,
awesome.
hey, know about the extra episodes ahead of time and have input on how it's going to work. So.
How many people are now going to put exclamation marks after their name?
Oh, no kidding. No, I'm
so
curious.
that you announce it like that.
Yeah. But yeah, so big news, but I do think we need to get into this episode because enough chit chat at the beginning.
Yeah.
We can save that for the end of the show.
Let's do her.
You ready for this?
I am. I'm very interested in this case.
So I remember when this case actually first was happening. When this I don't want to give anything away by talking about it, but I do remember when it was happening. And I remember having a very different opinion about it then than I do now since I researched this case.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I thought one thing and I thought exactly what I was supposed to think. And now I realize there's a lot more to it than just what's on the surface.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I think that happens more times than not.
Yes.
We're sort of made to think away.
Well, especially when you're dealing with a country like North Korea, who's very secretive. The regime holds a very tight grip on their people. There is very little contact with the outside world. There is falsified information. There is propaganda all over the place. There's even like in the country, there is, I don't know the exact number. I didn't do research on North Korea itself on these things, but it's just previous knowledge. But there are a certain number of haircuts that you can get.
Oh, okay.
So it's like females, you get like, you can go to a barber or a shop or a hairstyle salon. You get haircut 1 through 12. That's it. Men 1 through 12. That's it. You cannot have your hair any other different way.
That's
Things
so
like that.
interesting, right? Like, but then in someone, I feel like we have almost too many decisions to make that sometimes it's like, wow, you know, you just get to pick. Or like, I always thought that when people went to school and had to wear uniforms,
Yeah.
that they're like, oh, they just know what they have to wear every day.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it would get pretty boring pretty quick.
Freedom of choice is certainly a big part, right? It creates independence, autonomy. And I mean, that's what a lot of people are fighting for nowadays in their rights to be their own person. And in North Korea, you certainly do not have your right to be your own person. The laws are extremely heavy. And yeah, so that's a little spiel on North Korea. And this is where Otto was going to be traveling to. But first, let's get into who Otto was.
Okay.
So Otto Frederick Warmbier was born on December 12th, 1994, and he grew up in a close-knit family in the suburbs of Cincinnati. He was the oldest of 3 children and was known for his vibrant personality and his zest for life, you know? His parents, Fred and Cindy Warmbier, instilled in him a love for learning and a strong sense of community. He attended Wyoming High School, where he excelled both academically and athletically. He was a standout student, graduating as a salutatorian of his class, which is like the second top. You have your valedictorian and your salutatorian.
Okay.
His peers and teachers both alike admired him for his intelligence and leadership qualities, and most importantly of all, his kindness.
Nice.
He was a good-hearted kid, right? Just all around. So even beyond academics, where Otto was involved in various extracurricular activities, including school soccer teams and National Honor Society, he did continue to stand out beyond that. After high school, Otto enrolled in the University of Virginia, also known as UVA, where he pursued a double major in commerce and economics. At UVA, he continued to distinguish himself as a top student, earning a place in the prestigious Eccles Scholars Program.
That's impressive.
He was an impressive individual. And it's almost like, you know, a bit of salt in the wound, because like on top of it all, he's like a super good person, super likable. It's like
what the hell? You should have one or the other, right?
He's got it all sort of thing, you know? He's super likable. He's super athletic. He's super smart. He's super charismatic, super outgoing. It's like, God damn, dude.
He's super.
Yeah.
And honestly, economics, I had to take a couple of those courses with my degree, and they are not easy.
No?
No.
I mean, I can only imagine. It's definitely not my forte, so I would stay far away from it, but good on him for going through
Very
that.
good.
Yeah. Now, Otto's time at UVA showed to many of his peers his eagerness to explore the world, a world beyond the classroom particularly, and, you know, his adventurous spirit that he actually had. He was always eager to learn and grow, but he was also wanting to learn about different cultures and global perspectives. In late 2015, Otto learned about Young Pioneers Tours, a China-based travel agency that offered budget trips to North Korea, which is otherwise a very restricted country. Like you can't just like, I'm going to book a flight to North Korea. This travel company clearly has a relationship with North Korea where they have an established trip, an established tour route, where specific hotels, specific events, all this sort of stuff is laid out, because you cannot just be like, I'm going to North Korea. So there's clearly something pre-established and pre-laid out here. Now, this travel agency, Young Pioneers Tours, their motto was, quote, budget tours to destinations your mother would rather you stayed away from.
Oh, I do not love that.
No kidding. That is quite the marketing ploy.
Yeah,
hey?
I don't think that's a great one.
No, I mean, it both is and isn't, because it certainly attracts the demographic you're after, right? Because it says that right there, your mother. So it's telling you right now they're looking at young kids.
Yes.
And I mean, of course, the tour name is Young Pioneers Tour. So they are targeting those young kids who are going out on their own, almost rebellious type, wanting to finally get free of the bonds of childhood and do their own thing, make their own decisions. So I, though, look at it now and say, hey, that's a terrible freaking marketing thing. I think it's phenomenal on their part for the demographic they're targeting.
It is, yes. But I think me personally, like even if I was young again, just dated me real bad. I'm not sure that would have worked on me either because I'd be like, oh God.
But we're probably not their demographic. We're not the ones who at that age would have been rebelling and wanting to go out and,
Yeah.
So I think for the demographic they're after, I think that would have captured attention. And I mean, that honestly really spells out what you can expect from this trip and what's to follow. Now, as I mentioned, North Korea has a reputation as one that is very isolated, strict, enigmatic, right? And it presented a very compelling opportunity for Otto, who wanted to really experience different places of the world and, like I said, different perspectives of culture. The agency marketed its tours as safe and adventurous, appealing to its young travelers. So Otto, after reading it, going through all the brochures and looking it up and figuring out everything that's going to happen, he decided to join the 5-day New York tour to North Korea. Sorry, New Year's tour, not New York tour, New Year's tour.
I was like, I just assumed, they're starting in New York.
No, my apologies, New Year's tour. So on December 29th, because New Year's, 2015, Otto departed for North Korea with a group of approximately 10 other tourists. The itinerary included visits to prominent sites in Pyongyang, such as Kim Il-sung Square and the Korean War Museum, as well as participation in New Year's celebrations. The tour group stayed at Yongato International Hotel, which is a very well-known accommodation for foreign visitors in the location. And I'm pretty sure this hotel is like designated specifically for tourists.
Makes sense.
There have been a few YouTube videos that I watched where people do get specific tours through North Korea, and everything seems staged. Everything from banquets to the hotels to the tour guides they go in to places they visit to the shows. Everything is staged specifically for the tourist to have a certain perspective on North Korea. And so this hotel, I'm pretty sure, would be staged just the same.
Yep.
Now, Otto was having the time of his life on this trip, taking in the culture, or what he thought was the culture, of course, enjoying the travels and making new friends in his journey. However, the once-in-a-lifetime trip would soon turn into a traveler's worst nightmare. On January 2nd, 2016, at Pyongyang's Sunan International Airport, he was just about to board his flight back to China with the tour group, when all of a sudden, Otto received a tap on his shoulder, and 2 uniformed North Korean officers led Otto away from the group. One of the other travelers in the group made light of the situation and made a joke saying, "And that's the last time we ever see him."
Oh, shit.
To which Otto turned back, laughed, and walked away with the officials. It was a joke, but little did they know it wouldn't be funny for much longer.
Oh, boy. He was that close to leaving too, hey?
He was just about to board his flight. And they took him away right before boarding. Now, according to North Korean authorities, on the night of January 1st, 2016, at Yongato International Hotel in Pyongyang, Otto attempted to steal a propaganda poster from a restricted area within the hotel. Now, this restricted area is reportedly designated for staff only and not accessible to guests. As I kind of already mentioned, the hotel is probably very much so staged. And this area, restricted area, would be staged a lot differently because it's a very propaganda-heavy place, very strict regime place. So for the workers, it's going to be laid out for them.
Okay, like he wasn't supposed to be in there.
Definitely not. Now, this area is known as the 5th floor. It is inaccessible to civilians in the hotel, with the floor number not even appearing on elevators. You do not even see floor number 5 on the elevator in this place. Still, some have managed to make their way onto the floor despite the restrictions. And if you do some diving, you can even find footage of people going through this 5th floor. There's video of it, and it is littered with war propaganda posters. Like what you would see like World War II era stuff, like posters of like machine guns and tanks and like crazy shit just lining these fucking halls.
Really? Why? Like,
because it's a very war regime and driven country. That's what North Korea is about.
Okay. Huh.
Now, like I said, some footage does exist and it shows all this. And the floor is also believed to be the house facilities that show surveillance that is monitoring the remainder of the floor. I couldn't find footage that shows this surveillance rooms, but it is believed that since this is a very staged facility, it would make sense that there is surveillance as well.
Like in the people's rooms and shit?
Most likely.
Oh my gosh.
That is the belief.
Terrifying.
That is the belief. Now, it is on this floor where a security camera allegedly caught someone taking a poster off the wall of the hotel. The poster was considered a symbol of the country's ideology principles, and the act of stealing or damaging such material is viewed as a serious offense in North Korea, which is often viewed as a direct act against the state, which just shows how heavy this country is.
Because, taking down a poster doesn't seem like it should be a crime, right?
We'll put it this way. In the United States, there's a lot of people who love Donald Trump and hate Donald Trump, right? So say there's a Donald Trump poster you see, and you're a person who hates him. You take that poster down, and now you're getting arrested simply for removing the poster and showing an act against him.
Right.
That's what kind of country we're dealing with.
Okay.
That's what kind of laws we have implemented here. Now, the person that was removing it, North Korea claims, was Otto. However, the authenticity, and the context of this footage have been subject to debate and skepticism to this day, which we will touch on here in a little bit.
Holy shit. Like it's maybe not certain that it was actually him.
We'll touch on it.
Oh.
So on the following day, on January 2nd, 2016, when officials took him away, Otto was, of course, being arrested. And following his arrest, Otto was taken to an undisclosed location. North Korean authorities did not provide immediate information about his whereabouts or conditions, heightening concerns among both his friends and the U.S. government alike, because now they had a U.S. civilian in custody. So on February 29th, 2016, nearly 2 months after his arrest, Otto Warmbier appeared in a televised press conference in Pyongyang. During his emotional appearance, he tearfully confessed to attempting to steal the poster and heavily apologized for his actions. He stated that he had been influenced by an American church, the Friendship United Methodist Church in Wyoming, Ohio, and was offered financial incentives to commit the act by a secretive society within the church and a member of the Z Society of the University of Virginia. The press conference raised significant concerns about the authenticity about his confession.
Well, yeah, that just seems like a lot.
He was in extreme emotional distress and a very distraught state. And the formal and stilted language he used did not seem like spontaneous speech that someone would be throwing off the cuff, right?
Okay.
Or even spontaneous speech that someone would really write down. It just didn't seem natural, especially for someone like him, who is well educated, who probably did many speeches during his time in university. It led many to believe that his confession was very coerced. Observers and human rights organizations all pointed out that North Korea even had a documented history of coercing confessions from detainees through intimidation, threats, and physical abuse. It is firmly believed by most that Otto's confession was made under duress and did not reflect his true intentions or actions. So what many believe is that what he is saying occurred, these people told me to do this, they'll give me a financial reward, was all basically made up by North Korea. It was an agenda that they are trying to put on North Americans coming into North Korea. And then from there, this is when the footage was released, some 2 months after he was already arrested.
Yeah.
So what many believe is that this footage was staged. They arrested him, made him go through the actions of this, recorded it, and then claimed this is what they caught him doing. This is what a lot of people believe occurred.
Holy shit, hey? That's
Yes.
like
They're
not
framing
scary
him.
at all.
They're framing him is basically what
Why,
the
though?
consensus of this is. We'll get into it a bit.
Okay, I just have so many questions, and so we'll get into it.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
But regardless of what U.S. civilians and the rest of the world thought, to North Korea and their civilians, they had an enemy of their state in custody, right? And they had a full confession for it as well.
Holy crap.
So Otto Warmbier's trial took place on March 16th, 2016 in Pyongyang, North Korea, just over 2 months after his arrest in the international airport where he was first, tapped on the shoulder. However, the fairness and legitimacy of this trial have been subjects to intense scrutiny and skepticism over the years. Otto was charged with committing a, quote, hostile act against the North Korean state for the alleged theft of the poster in the restricted area of the hotel. The trial proceedings were notably swift and very one-sided. It lasted approximately only 1 hour. And during the trial, North Korea authorities presented the surveillance footage for the first time, as I had already mentioned. And throughout it all, Otto was not provided with any adequate legal representation or even access to an independent counsel. He was simply put at a one-sided trial, therefore show, essentially. He was going into trial, and they knew he was going to be guilty before the trial even started.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so as a result, Otto Warmbier didn't stand a chance in court and was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor.
Holy shit. 15 years.
15 years.
We've covered cases where someone murders someone. They don't even get that much time.
I know, right?
Good God.
So this is what sort of stuff is going on in this country. And I do want to say right now, a lot of perspectives we in North America have of North Korea are third-party perspectives. It's what we're being told by our government. So if you look at the civilians in North Korea, their perspective of us is what they're being told by their government.
Yeah.
So as much as I want to say we're right, which I'm sure we kind of are because there's evidence to back up a lot of our stuff. I mean, they're faking their evidence, which they're showing their civilians. You never know, right? Now, I do believe Otto Warmbier is definitely being held wrongly here, but I just do want to put it in perspective. Facts are probably being hidden both ways, is all I'm really trying to say. Okay?
Well, I'm blind to all of both sides. I don't have, I have little knowledge about North Korea, to be honest.
Well, all I'm saying is, okay, like North Korea is a very hard regime. Like there's 15 haircuts. I said that. There's like 12 or 15 haircuts.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I'm taking information off the internet.
Yeah.
I'm taking a perspective that other civilians in my country and other political figures in my country are painting that country to be. So I'm just saying, hey, there could be a weighted perspective here.
Potentially, yeah.
But as I did mention, I do firmly believe in the situation with Otto, North Korea is up to some shit.
Yeah, it seems so.
Yeah. So he was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor. The trial and sentence sparked absolute outrage internationally. The U.S. government, human rights organizations, and Otto's family all declared the trial to be a sham and called for immediate release of him. But the cries fell on absolute deaf ears. For over a year, Otto remained in detention with little information known about his condition. There was just nothing. They were releasing nothing about Otto. His family could only sit and hope for the best, as he was just incarcerated in a mysterious country with zero contact. It was not until June 2017 that it was released he had actually been in a coma for most of his imprisonment. This news came as a result of the negotiation efforts made by the government to secure his release back to the United States. So basically, they're trying to get him released back to the States. And finally, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, for the last year since he's been actually like his trial, he's been in a coma. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
That is some fucked up shit.
Yeah.
It's also terrifying as shit, too.
Oh, is it ever? No kidding. Like, because this can happen, I mean, theoretically in any country.
Well, yeah, I mean,
If your government is dark enough, is
Yeah.
poisoned enough, you never know what they could do.
like I love traveling and stuff, but I feel like we haven't gone to like many foreign countries from like North America, just because it's like you don't like you might not be intending to offend or anything, but like the cultures are different and stuff. Like it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes languages are different and stuff. It just seems a little bit like scary, I guess.
Yeah, no, I feel you definitely. Yeah.
Not to say that like all countries have issues or anything, just to
like,
clarify. But
I can recall a time when we were in Mexico. We were just chilling in an all-inclusive resort, and there was a server who brought us some drinks, and she was super nice and super kind. And I was trying to be nice, and mind you, I don't know Spanish for shit. I learned like 10 words before I went, and I was probably 10 drinks deep by like 9 o'clock in the morning.
oh my gosh, not quite.
Okay, 11 o'clock. I had a lot of booze in me. I know that. And I said, she was mi amigo, which is my friend, right?
Yeah.
But amigo is a male friend. And she's like, amigo. And I'm like, amiga. I couldn't remember how, like, I think amiga.
Yes,
is,
you insulted her.
and yeah, she was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I'm sorry. And it's just, I was just ignorant to the situation, right? And you never know that could be a serious situation, right? If I call someone in North Korea the wrong gender by accident. Like, yeah. So it was a simple, like, I fucked up. I knew, like,
I don't remember that at all.
I do. Cause it scarred me because I felt so bad. Yeah. Yeah. But anyways,
Well, you fucked up in Jamaica too, but we can tell that story.
That's another story. That's a whole other
Don't
story.
travel with Ben.
I'm a shit show, clearly. But anyways, so Otto was in a coma for the last year, and North Korean officials claimed that he had fell into a coma either due to botulism poisoning or sleeping pills that were administered to him. Now, they're thinking that with these sleeping pills, he potentially had like a side effect to him or some sort of reaction, but they're not sure. These are their two best guesses at why he's in a coma.
And this is, sorry, people from North Korea.
Yeah, North Korean officials are saying, botulism, poisoning, or sleeping pill reaction.
Okay.
Now, his parents, Fred and Cindy, were informed about their son's condition as efforts were being made to bring him home. And the U.S. government had actually coordinated a specific flight to finally bring him home. So this flight was going to Pyongyang, North Korea, with medical professionals on board to evacuate Otto in order to bring him back to the States safely. And so, on June 13th, 2017, Otto Warmbier was transported from North Korea back to the United States. A team of doctors and medical professionals accompanied him on the aircraft, monitored his condition the entire way, and provided necessary care during his journey. Upon their arrival to pick him up, something wasn't quite right with Otto. Otto was said to have been in a coma for the past year. However, when medical professionals met with him and examined him, they determined that he was awake and responsive. Not completely, but he was verbal. His eyes were open, and he seemed to respond to speech and touch. So he was transferred from the hospital where he's being held in Pyongyang, and then straight to the airport. He was mildly sedated for the flight to ensure he remained stable for the journey and such the travel home. And the flight lasted several hours before it finally arrived in Cincinnati, Ohio. And when it arrived in Cincinnati, Otto's family was there to greet him, and he was immediately transported to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. Now, back in the USA, medical teams were able to perform a proper and thorough examination and assessment of his condition. And it brought up a lot of questions, primarily because the coma thing, right? And he's clearly not in a coma. But arguably, I mean, there is the Glasgow coma scale, which I'm not going to get into details of. So he could partially be arguably in a coma. But anyways, that's a side note. Medical people will know what I'm talking about. Doctors found out that Otto had suffered extensive brain damage while he was over there. They described his condition as unresponsive wakefulness, also known as a persistent vegetative state. He was essentially a vegetable.
Oh, man.
He showed no signs of understanding language, awareness of his surroundings, or voluntary movements. So essentially, if you were to pinch him, he'd pull back.
React to that, but that's about it.
And if you if he's looking one way and you make a noise or talk to him, he might turn and kind of look at you a little bit, but he had no signs of understanding or anything.
Oh, that is just devastating.
Is it ever?
Holy shit.
The medical team concluded that he had suffered a severe neurological injury, likely due to a lack of oxygen to the brain.
Wow.
Now, his parents were both relieved to have their son back home, and they publicly thanked everyone involved for making it happen. But they also made a public statement of Otto's condition, sharing with the world the state that their son was in. They believed that he had been subject to severe mistreatment while in the custody of North Korea.
Oh my goodness. That is just so much emotion right there.
It's so fucking heartbreaking, especially because this all occurred over the course of a year without you even knowing. And you're like, oh, by the way, you're getting him back as a vegetable. What the fuck?
Well, yeah, you're fighting for him, right? And everything. And you're, oh my gosh. And then he comes back and you're so unaware of his state. Like,
well, and he comes back and he's not even him anymore.
Yeah. Man, I just can't even imagine. Wow.
You good?
Yeah. Well, I guess. Yeah.
So despite receiving intensive medical care in Cincinnati, Otto showed no signs of improvement. He passed away on June 19th, 2017, just 6 days after returning to the United States. His death was met with an outpouring of sympathy and condolences from across the country and the world. While the country was grieving, it is almost certain that in North Korea there was a very stark difference. The fact that he passed away only 6 days after being in the care of the USA would certainly be a tool used in the propaganda for their country. We held him in a coma state for over a year and we took care of him. The States takes him, he's dead in a week.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know how to react to that. That is so fucked.
Yeah, and there's a good chance that that was their plan, why they released him too.
Huh, okay.
So the U.S. government, of course, condemned North Korea's treatment of Otto and held the regime responsible to his death. Residing President Donald Trump at the time issued a statement expressing the sorrow for the Warmbier's family and denouncing the brutality of the North Korean regime. In 2018, Otto's parents filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the North Korean government, and a U.S. federal court ruled in their favor, awarding them $501 million in damages. However, collecting these damages from North Korea is very highly unlikely, ruling that it was more symbolic, a symbol of justice and accountability than really anything in Otto's death, right? Mm-hmm. So it was more saying, yes, North Korea is responsible. But are they going to do anything? I doubt it.
Yeah. Well, because they're not going to admit that they were wrong, right?
Yeah. And even if they were wrong, why the fuck are they going to pay it?
Yeah.
So being that it was found that North Korea was responsible for his death and that he had suffered brain damage due to a lack of oxygen, the question remains, what exactly happened to him? What does that mean? Well, in all honesty, that is completely up for debate. Some medical experts do contest that his condition could be a result of the alleged botulism poisoning, which is highly unlikely, but more probable, I guess, than the botulism, the reaction to the sleeping pills that he was administered while in custody.
What the hell is that again?
Botulism poisoning, it's like a poisoning that occurs with like canning and stuff. Like,
oh,
like
okay,
food.
Yeah. Okay.
So they said that there was like a pork that they had fed him while like being held, and yet there was botulism apparently. So it's like damaged can or whatever that was opened and like some shit got in. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now, the chances on both of these are really slim, the botulism particularly slim, but most medical experts do point to something else being the cause. If it is indeed something else, though, what? Doctors noted that his injuries were more consistent with cardiac arrest, where the brain is deprived of oxygen. Otto's parents, however, along with many others around the world, believe he was subject to severe mistreatment while in their care, as I already mentioned. And I have used that term, mistreatment. So what could this mean? A lot of things, really. But there is speculation that Otto could have been subject to things such as torture while in North Korea. However, upon examination, doctors noted that Otto did not show signs of physical abuse, such as fractures or bruises, which one might expect in a torture victim, someone who's being physically abused. But this doesn't rule out other forms of torture or
Mhm.
mistreatment, such as deprivation, stress, things that could actually contribute to a neurological state that he had. There's also the possibility that Otto has been tortured and allowed time to heal before being returned to the United States, being returned home. Bruises, for example, would not show. Scarring might. Some broken bones may show. Yes, you're right. But bruises, some beatings may not. I mean, he had been in a condition with them for over a year, so who knows? But it was also noted that on his foot, Otto suddenly had a very large scar that he did not have before he left. And there was no explanation for what occurred. His front two bottom teeth as well, that were previously straight, were now crooked and twisted. Almost as if they had been forced or moved out of place. But again, there were no signs of trauma to go along with what had been seen. So what could have happened to Otto while he was in the hands of North Korea? With the country's dark history and cutthroat regime, it's hard to say. But it could be possible they attempted to use him as a political bargaining chip. If you ask Donald Trump, who was serving as president at the time, no matter what happened, North Korea's leader had nothing to do with it. In February of 2019, President Trump stated in a press conference that he did not believe Kim Jong-un was directly responsible for Otto's death. He said, and I quote, "He, Kim Jong-un, tells me that he didn't know about it, and I will take him at his word. I don't believe he would have allowed that to happen. It just wasn't to his advantage to allow that to happen." His comments were met with a very widespread criticism. I mean, how could he not know?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Donald Trump knows.
Yeah. It was a globalized issue, right?
Mm.
Especially in a country that has, where that leader has absolute, and I mean absolute control.
Yeah. That doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense. Otto's parents responded to Trump's remarks stating, quote, "Kim and his evil regime are responsible for the death of our son Otto. No excuses or lavish praise can change that."
Well, yeah, it's almost kind of like Donald Trump didn't want to, I don't know, what would be the word? Like burn the bridge or something with North Korea.
In 2019, Trump and Kim Jong-un began to develop a very close relationship. And that is when he came out with this statement saying that he believed he did not have any knowledge of this. Oh, he's ignorant. He didn't know this occurred. If he knew this was happening, he wouldn't have allowed it to happen. Guaranteed, if Kim Jong-un did not know this was occurring, and there were some other officers or leaders under him that did this without his knowledge, they would be very harshly punished.
Oh, yeah.
But they weren't.
Well, that we know of, though.
That we know of.
I don't know.
But he would have made sure we knew about it. Because how dare they do this without my consent? I'm going to make sure they're punished, and I'm going to make sure the world knows.
Mm-hmm.
That's 100% what a leader like Kim Jong-un would have done in a total regime that he has. But he didn't, because he knew about it. That is the story of Otto Warmbier.
I feel like I've just been like biting my tongue so intently a lot of this. Because like I don't want to talk about politics and shit, right? So it's just really hard to know what the fuck to say.
Well, I know, because I'm not a very big political individual. I am not the most knowledgeable, so it's not my forte to speak on it really either.
Mm-hmm.
What I will say though, the politics aside, is when I heard this happening, I remember the news articles coming out. I remember hearing the day it was published about his arrest. And my immediate reaction was, that's what you get. And don't get me wrong, I don't think anyone deserved it, but I was like, that's what you get for stealing something in North Korea. But I had no idea how much they were using him as a puppet and potentially, most likely, faking the fact that he actually stole it to begin with.
So like it's not even certain that he was on that 5th floor. Really?
Yeah. They do have footage of an individual that very much so seems like to be Otto, taking a poster off the wall and walking away. But it's most likely stage footage that they recorded after arresting him.
Oh,
they made him do this. so they could record it and use it as evidence.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I missed that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Now, and don't get me wrong, I want to say this again. It's not that that's what you get for doing it. Was my reaction was like, well, of course, you steal something in North Korea. Of course, you're going to fucking get arrested, right?
Yeah.
So,
well,
but did he?
And the way that you described him as an individual, it didn't make sense that he would would do that. Would go to this 5th floor and do something like that, right? Like he was probably on his best behavior there.
100% agree. So
he just was literally curious and wanted to learn about the culture and like different parts of the world.
Yeah, he was just wanting to travel, have some experiences and have fun. But
damn. Yeah, he was young. That's young.
Yeah. Now, I mean, it's really unsure on why they did this other than to potentially use him as some sort of bargaining chip. Like, hey, we imprisoned this guy and we let him go. Now you kind of owe us a little favor of turning a blind eye to something or like those sort of things.
No, because look how he was returned.
Yeah. I got nothing for you on why or what their thoughts were, but that's the situation. That's what occurred. And it's horrible.
Yeah.
And my thoughts prior to this being like, well, that's of course what's going to happen when you steal. Like, okay, no, how fucking wrong was I?
Which is so terrible for him, right? Like this individual, that people, they have different thoughts or whatever, right? And it's just unknown exactly what happened.
I know.
Like that is sad. Real sad.
Yep. I'm going to see if I can bring up footage of the 5th floor. Yeah, here we go. So, I mean, if you guys are listening audio-wise, you're not going to be able to see this. But if you're checking it out on YouTube, I'll bring it up for you guys. I'll show you. And I will put a link down below so you guys can check it out as well if you're interested in actually going over and clicking at it.
Well, how would this be out there without someone getting caught?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay, so go right to the beginning. So you can see like these very political type posters. And those posters are fucking all around.
Yeah, all over the walls.
See, look, a big bomb USA on it.
Oh, shit. Huh.
There's another one that I saw with like someone with like an AK-47 or something they were holding.
So like, I don't know. Donald Trump could potentially been like intimidated by North Korea, potentially. Really?
I mean, they do have nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
But I don't see Donald Trump being smart enough to be... to be intimidated by North Korea. I think that would be a pissing contest. And I mean, they got more nukes and a bigger army and all that sort of stuff. So I don't see him being intimidated per se, but I mean, there is a possibility.
Huh. That's interesting.
So yeah, that was a different case to cover. It's one that's been on my radar for a while, and I don't know, just felt right to dive into it. I think we've been going a lot on like heavy murders recently, big time shootings and stuff. So I think one like that was a change of pace for sure.
I mean, yes, but it's just as equally as disturbing, really.
Oh, it's like, probably like it's another level of disturbing. Gosh. Different type of disturbing.
Like well, I mean, God, all this shit's terrifying. Maybe we need to look into another like good one. Is there another one like the maple syrup heist?
We should find another one like that.
Because that was just damn good.
A lighthearted true crime case.
Yeah. Hey, if you have one, let us know.
Yeah, shoot us a message or an email or something like that. Tag us in something. A more lighthearted case. I think we could use a turn of events like that. But
yeah, because this one honestly has me on like kind of more terrified than some of the other ones we've covered.
But I think the reason why it's more terrifying is because it's different.
I guess.
How many times have we talked about someone getting kidnapped and murdered or out of the blue and it's like, we know that can happen. This is like, when was the last time you thought about this happening on a simple tour guide trip?
Well, yeah, it could potentially be more relatable in some ways just because it's like, I enjoy traveling. Traveling is sort of more of a, normal way of life to some, right?
Our guards are already up when we're talking to strange people on the streets in midnight who or like that sort of situation. Our guards aren't necessarily up when we're just going on a tour guide.
Oh God, isn't that the case? We've lived in we have lived in not the best area before of our city. And I just remember at nighttime, in the dark, having to grab something from my car. Like I would fucking run. Like I've always just been like scared shitless of just like everything. I feel like
it wasn't even that bad of the area.
it was not the best area.
It wasn't the
It
best,
was our
but it wasn't
first
bad.
home that we purchased, right? So like rightfully so, it was, you know, it had
was-
to be of lower budget, and
It was on the edge of a not so nice part of town, but it wasn't a bad. Like you get some sketchy people walking by sometimes, but those sketchy people were generally harmless.
yeah. I don't know, but just like live in a sketchy area at night, and you were like working. I remember if I had to go outside, it was like fuck, and just like running.
Well, that's when we got our first dog, Mika. We got her to be a bit of a guard dog, be intimidating looking. She was a husky wolf cross.
Yeah,
She definitely intimidated some people. I know that.
she did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she-
she was like my little angel in disguise. That's for sure.
Yeah, she did her job. That's
Mhm.
for sure. So.
Yeah, she was perfect.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you for being here. Don't forget that on Friday, we are coming out with another episode. Of course, when we upload to YouTube, we are uploading a couple days after the actual episode comes out, but you can expect more coming out on YouTube as well. You can see the video, you know, a few days after. We don't have a schedule for YouTube just yet, but that is coming down the pipe to actually get a specific, hey, you can expect the video on this day sort of situation.
Mhm.
But you can expect the episode on Friday.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
freaking exciting shit right there.
It is. It's nerve-wracking though too to do that much extra work. But for now, we're stoked. We're gonna make it happen. So if you want to check out all the links, shoot us a message on a lighthearted podcast episode idea. Let us know. All the links are down below, including Patreon where you can sign up. And we'll see you on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So until then,
Until then.
stay wicked.